You're listening to CinePunked. This episode, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. I'm your host, Robert J. E. Simpson. In the winter of 1990, the world was introduced to the misadventures of Kevin McCallister, an 8-year-old boy left at home by his family at Christmas, only to find himself embroiled in a slapstick caper with two of the most inept housebreakers you could ever meet, the Wet Bandits Harry and Marv. Written by John Hughes, perhaps best known for the Brat Pack films like Pretty in Pink, Home Alone quickly grew into a franchise, the first sequel released in 1992. With Disney Plus currently rebooting the series, we're taking a look in today's show at Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, I'm joined today by CinePunk's very own Ben Simpson. Yes, folks, it's a rare Simpsons only show because our Rachel Kelly is currently off on her maternity leave. So this is our first Christmas episode where we don't have Rachel to argue with, which I suppose is, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. Ben, good to see you again.
Yes, you too.
In this sort of weird, at the end of a very weird year.
Very, very, very weird year.
But it's no bad thing. So look, this was your suggestion that we do Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
I'm assuming then that this is a favourite of yours?
Yeah, I do rather enjoy this movie, to be honest. I don't know, I've seen it that many times. I just think it's a great wee Christmas fun-filled adventure movie, you know. Even though it's not entirely focused around Christmas, but it does share a big part in it.
Well, it's more focused on Christmas than Die Hard
yes,
is, which
yeah,
we
definitely.
did not that long ago.
Yeah.
Of all the familiar sounds of Christmas, surely this one is the most beloved. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
My family's in Florida and I'm in New York.
Funnily enough, we never lose our luggage.
Once again, the family that loves staying together
Can I help you? Reservation for McCallister?
couldn't be further apart.
He's in New York.
This is a vacation.
Only two things could ruin this vacation, and they just hit town.
Hiya, pal.
Yes!
Stop that child! Stop it! Where'd he go?
I'm up here. Come and get me.
You gotta do better than this, kid!
Don't you know a kid always wins against two idiots?
Oops.
You guys give up? Have you had enough pain?
Never!
What kind of idiots do you have working here?
The finest in New York.
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
You wearing aftershave?
That's kerosene!
Now why would anybody soak a rope in kerosene?
Merry Christmas.
Like, do you remember how old you were when you first watched this? Or do you have any recollections of seeing this as a kid?
Yeah. When was this movie released?
So the first of the Home Alone films came out in 1990, and it was a moderately budgeted film as well. They only spent about $30 million on it. Well, $20 million I think it was. It was over what the original plan was. Supposed to be a Warner Brothers film, and then basically the budget was spiraling.
Yeah.
And they had secret conversations with 20th Century Fox, whilst they were prepping stuff with Warner Brothers, which is a big no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you shouldn't be having a conversation with another film studio to back your film. And when the budget became too big, Warner Brothers walked away. But I think they just started work on the actual production.
Yeah.
And Fox were able to come in and just pick up the film and run with it. So it came out in Christmas in 1990 was phenomenally successful. And then a couple of years later, they basically run into Home Alone 2. So, like, didn't really spend much time at all in between them. You know, it was a plan to kind of follow on fairly quickly. So Home Alone 2 came out in Christmas of 1992. So I can't even. I mean, you can't have watched it at that point.
No, I don't
too
think so,
young.
because I would have been what, four years old by that stage. I think it might have been like maybe 96 or something, or whenever I watched it. So probably about 8 years old.
So, like, do you remember what it is that drew you in as a kid? Because I think this is a film that does appeal to a wide group of people.
Yeah.
But there is something in particular for a child watching these films that sort of I think has extra appeal.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to work out what, like, do you remember how you felt about watching it?
I remember being slightly petrified and scared watching it, just because of the nature of it. It's like, oh my word, like, there's these two dudes trying to break into this house, and this kid's left all alone. But like he fends off, and I don't remember like laughing, you know, whenever I was a kid, because it was just in complete like awe of it. And the second one, I think I watched it maybe a year or two later. So yeah, I just remember it being like scary watching it, because I was young myself, and it's like, how on earth do you do that? But like watching it again as an adult, like, and coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Like thought wise, compared to like the mystery and the wonder of how the heck this kid is fending off and protecting his house from these two idiots. But like thinking, watching it as an adult, and you watch how he handles it, and the thought that he puts into everything. Like, he plans out what happens to these guys every single step of the way. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, you are insanely smart for a 9-year-old or 8-year-old, was it? He was.
I think he's supposed to be 8 in the first one and 10 in the second one. Although in the narrative of the film, they only happen a Christmas apart.
Yes.
So he gains an extra year somewhere along the way, or perhaps his parents don't actually know how old he is, considering they don't seem to notice whenever he's not around anyway.
Yeah. He must spend a lot of time in his room or something, like away from his family, because he does seem to really hate his family.
They're all a bunch of jerks.
Hi. You know, Kevin, last time we all tried to take a trip, we had a problem that started just like this.
Yeah, with me getting crapped on.
I don't care for your choice of words. That's not what happened last time. That's not what's happening this time. Buzz apologized to you.
Yeah, then he called me a trout sniffer. He didn't mean what he said. He was just sucking up to you.
Okay. Why don't you just sit up here for a while and think things over? When you're ready to apologize to Buzz and to the rest of the family, you can come down.
I'm not apologizing to Buzz. I'd rather kiss a toilet seat.
Then you can stay up here the rest of the night.
Fine. I don't want to be down there anyway. I can't trust anybody in this family. And you know what? If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation. Alone, without any of you guys, and I'd had the most fun in my whole life.
His family's huge, though. I mean, like, you know, we our family was you know, not massive.
Yeah.
But like, there's 14 of them on that trip.
Yeah.
It's 2 families of 7. That is a lot of kids, a lot of adults, and it just like strikes you as chaos, and you can see the tensions. I mean, like, Home Alone 2 opens sort of throws you that curveball with the scene in the sort of carol service.
Yeah.
And you see like Kevin and his big brother.
Buzz.
I mean,
yeah. yeah.
I'm confused as to whether or not they're meant to be in the same school, or if they are or if this is like a community group or what, because like there seems to be quite a big age gap between the two of them.
Yeah, like I think Buzz is he looks to be at least 15, 16 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's all the other children, and
I mean, maybe it's just it's actually Buzz is only 3 years older than Kevin is.
he's massive.
Devin D. Rattray, he's born in 1977, and Macaulay Culkin's born in 1980. So it's only 3 years, but it looks like a much bigger difference.
Yeah. I take it that's like the whole selection thing in the actors.
I suppose it could be.
Let's find the hugest child actor that we can find who's the same size as an adult.
I mean, to be fair, I only rewatched Home Alone 2. I didn't rewatch Home Alone ahead of this. So I don't know if maybe Buzz doesn't look quite so old in the first one, and it's just like that thing with the onset of puberty, and suddenly you go, "Wah! I was a child and now I am a man."
Yeah,
sort of boy. Yeah, but he does look so much bigger and so much older, and obviously there is that tension within the family. You've got a massive age range, and there is going to be disputes and upsets and everything else that is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a bigger gap between you and me. Yeah, there's 7 years between us. Yeah, so I mean, like that sense of siblings and tension, like we're familiar with how it can operate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, you imagine. I mean, there were 4 of us. I mean, you imagine adding another 3, even just another 3 into that.
Yes, yeah.
Like it's not going to sit well all the time. So yes, like it sets up on that, and I mean, it's clear that there is an ongoing thing, and the way that they talk about Kevin, he does seem to be like detached.
Yeah,
I suppose the only one he gets on with, seemingly, is his cousin. His little bespectacled cousin.
Oh right, yeah.
Fuller, who's actually Macaulay's real life brother, Kieran.
That's his real life brother.
That's his real life brother, yeah,
wow.
Playing his cousin. So maybe that explains why there's just a little bit more kind of affinity there.
Yeah.
But it's. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he does seem to be. I don't know if he doesn't like his family, but he does seem slightly separate from them a lot of the time.
He seems to be like the butt of the joke a lot of the time as well. Like everyone's always ripping on him and making fun of him, or every joke's at his expense. Though because I haven't recently watched Home Alone, the first one. It's been a couple of years since I've seen the first one, but I do enjoy the second one. I did enjoy the second one a lot more than the first one.
Well, the criticisms that are leveled at the second one are often that it's basically a much more violent retread of the first one, that there's not an awful lot of originality in it. It plays a number of the gags exactly the same, which is always the problem, I think, with a comedy series.
Well, even a sequel at that, like there's a lot of the same sort of tropes and
same beats, same stuff.
But that's not just going with like Home Alone. That's with every take John Wick for example.
Every John Wick film is the same,
it's
but
the same
also
film.
slightly different.
It's like how many dudes is he going to kill this time?
Well, I mean, is this the thing about sequels? Is that part of us wants to see more of what we saw the first time around?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you get too much of the same, you kind of detach from it. Like I'm thinking about something like Anchorman.
Yeah.
Like I found the first Anchorman genius.
I haven't seen the second one, so I can't pass any judgment on there. I did get told not to watch it because it's not great, but
I give it a go, but it does feel very, very, very samey.
Yeah.
Like literally the same gags.
Yeah.
And like it's just not enough.
Yeah.
Not in the 21st century. You want to have a bit more. But like Home Alone 2, the criticism it is too much of the same stuff, playing the same gags, and therefore, because it's lost its originality, it's slightly less warm. There's also a suggestion that the sentimentality in it is sort of ladled on. It's not just like a kind of a nice little thread that runs through. It's like literally, it's like thick soup, just pour and pour and pour, and it's completely inescapable. So it's overly sentimental and it's overly violent.
Yeah.
How do you feel about either of those things?
The violence, like, I'm not sure it's any more violent than the first one. Like, come on, like, the things that he does to them in the first one, it's not really as bad. Yeah, fair enough. He electrocutes somebody, and then he sets another guy's head on fire, and he he pretty much breaks their skulls with bricks and things like that.
Mean, how Marv is still walking at any point.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love the fact that, when he's hit after he sort of wakes up from that beating he takes from the bricks.
Yeah.
He's staggering up those stairs all over the place.
Yeah.
Because clearly the man is concussed.
Yeah.
I always feel a bit sorry for Marv when I watch this. I kind of
he definitely does seem to get it a lot worse than
Harry.
Yeah. Would you not agree there?
Okay, kid. Give it to me.
Direct it.
How many fingers am I holding up, Marv? 8. Okay, kid.
Oh, completely. I mean, it's a classic. So it's a classic sort of trope of slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
You've got a fantastic double act there in Harry and Marv. Joe Pesci is ridiculously well known as an actor anyway. He plays a lot of kind of hard kind of characters in Martin Scorsese films. I mean, he's sort of mafia, sort of epitomized.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Stern as Marv is just a little bit. He's sort of the Pesci's the straight guy, and Daniel's the kind of the comic relief, and it works together really well off each other. The dumb one and the smart one.
Yeah.
Like they're both. Was it they say that?
Yep, there's nobody dumb enough to knock off a toy store on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yeah.
So they're both thick.
Yeah.
But they're thick in slightly different ways, and that's part of the appeal.
Yeah.
So Joe has enough sense, like, get out of the road, and there is a sense of like they've learnt. Like he's more cautious about stuff. Like he is aware that this kid better than before. So like things like, they remember his little tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Check the doorknobs. Nope, it's not hot this time. I'm not going to burn my hand off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like they still are stupid enough to go chasing the kid that got them arrested.
Yeah.
A year beforehand. But I just think it's a great kind of double act. I just love. I love the character Marv. I mean, he just makes me want to give him a wee cuddle because he seems so daft.
Yeah.
And he gets all the beatings.
Yeah. Like 4 bricks to the head. Like that's gotta hurt. I said, like, it looks so heavy as well.
Uh-huh.
It's obviously not a real brick, but it looks like a real brick. It looks painful.
It's the indentations that they've done with the makeup on his head.
Yeah.
It just really sells it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like any... Like, this isn't just slapstick violence. Like, slapstick violence is always kind of, hitting and decking and everything else. I mean, we did a Chaplin last year.
Mm-hmm.
This year, gosh, early on this year, wasn't it? We did a Chaplin, and when you look at that...
Was it this year or was it last year?
It was the start of this year.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. He's going to question me now and stuff. Mid-record. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was earlier on this year. Yeah, it was in April.
April? That seems like an age ago. But
it was a lifetime ago. It was just we recorded just as lockdown kind of kicked in.
Yeah,
or was it about to the first time?
Yeah,
because we had our recording session booked in just before everything had like gone tits up.
Yeah,
in the world in 2020 for future viewers, future listeners.
Yeah.
Yes, we did the Chaplin stuff, and I mean, when you start looking at that silent comedy, you can see all that physical violence there, and there is a kind of cruelty to it.
Yeah,
but it's not just slapstick. This is cartoon slapstick violence.
Yes, well, like you look at the, when Kevin smashes the window, and he knows they're going to run out of that window towards him, and was it Harry jumps out the window and lands exactly where he's placed that plank.
Oh, like the seesaw thing.
Yeah, and then he flies really high up in the air and then comes crashing down on top of a car.
Yeah,
like that's impressive. And it's definitely that very cartoony style of like even whenever Marv's getting electrocuted and you see the skeleton.
Oh, there's a genius bit that.
Yeah.
That is a pure cartoon moment. That's going beyond anything you would have seen in a silent.
Yeah, but like you look at those like Roadrunner and stuff like that. Even Muttley,
Dastardly Muttley.
Yeah, like Harry mutters to himself like Muttley does. Like
Yeah.
It's definitely cartoony style violence, but like that stuff's been around for years,
forever. But there is this. I mean, this is the argument it's often been made about Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
are the ones that usually get side of this because they are quite violent. Parodied very famously, of course, in The Simpsons with Itchy and Scratchy, who just like take it up another level.
Yeah, chopping heads off and laughing.
Well, I think that's the thing is like Tom and Jerry and that ilk take this sort of extreme violence, and they're people get hurt. The creatures get hurt. Occasionally, you'll see like Tom walking around with plaster casts and things on.
Yeah,
because he's taken such a beating from Jerry.
Yeah.
But and occasionally they might joke a little bit about somebody dying, but it's never really felt that you connect with it. But Itchy and Scratchy then take it further, and they kind of go, let's actually have the severed limbs and the blood, and make it seem real.
Yeah.
And this Home Alone strikes me that the violence in this sits somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
It's not quite it's not quite Itchy and Scratchy sort of blood and guts, but it's certainly a little bit more than Tom and Jerry. I mean, as you said, I don't know if it's the nature of just because it's real life people.
Yeah.
So you feel the physical pain. You know that there are real life consequences to being lobbed in the head with a brick.
Yeah.
Like it will have an effect on you. Now the reality is if you get a brick thrown at your skull, at best you're going to get brain damage.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to die. And I think 4 is definitely going to kill you.
Yeah.
4 direct hits from a tall building.
Yeah, in exactly the same spot. Like,
oh man, the pain. So there is definitely something else there that sort of it is just a little bit more, and it is those makeup touches as well that really sell it. It's that indentation on the skull of the brick marks,
or the the scorching of the head, the nail through the foot in the first one, that Marv gets whenever he's walking up the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
I
need to rewatch that first one.
Yeah.
That's something I've done. Like it's not pleasant.
No, like it's everything about it is like you can relate to how sore that would feel. Though they must be superheroes.
because they're not dead.
Because they're not dead, the amount of punishment they go through, like they fall. I think that building, like when they're on the rope, right? They fall at least 4 stories. Can you survive if you fall 4 stories? And the way Harry hits the ground first, and then Marv falls on top of him. But his like hands hit the ground like that, and he's perfect. It's like your arms would be in bits after falling 4 stories, I'm pretty sure. And Harry's head would be mangled all over the place.
You just have to suspend your disbelief ever so slightly.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you a real visceral kind of moment.
Yeah.
Like when you watch the stuff happening, you do feel it, but at the same time, like obviously they're okay. They are surviving punishments that if you and I were to do, we would not get through. And it's just, it's just very hard to work out what it is, because there's a couple other moments that kind of sell this kind of cartoon surrealist, just not quite realistic thing. I mean, one, as you've already said, was the skull that pops up during the electrocution.
Yeah. The noses, the way, whenever they get
the
crushed
comedy nose
by
when they're broken with
and they both pull them back round.
That's a nice moment.
Yeah, I love that.
There's also actually just something as simple as the final scene. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen this near 30-year-old film. When Kevin's chatting in the park, and he's across the road from the hotel, and yet he can hear his father screaming at the top of his voice.
But I think he's psychic as well, and his mother. They're telepathic or something like that.
You're putting an extra level on this now.
Well, you see the bit whenever he first gets in the hotel room and he goes to the window. He sees the star on top of the children's hospice.
Yes,
from the window of the hotel across Central Park, and he sees that shining, and then he's like, "Oh, good night, Mum." And then she's standing out in the rain, and she's looking off into the distance, saying, "Good night, Kevin." It's like they're psychic. There has to be something there.
Well, I suppose even whenever she goes to New York to find him in Rockefeller Plaza, like for him to be there at that precise moment, there's the point where they just miss each other.
Yeah, by 5 seconds.
Which, I mean, there's see, now you're going in slightly deeper stuff. Because we're slightly outside the world of the film. I think sometimes people are connected like that. You do find that there are instances where there are people that you're close to, where the phone gets picked up suddenly.
Yeah.
One of you is ringing the other one whilst the other is dialing the number.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to most people. It's like, I was just literally just about to call you.
Yeah.
Random, or you both hit call at the same time and you're never sure which call actually is the one that connected.
Yeah.
But one of you did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, people do connect on some kind of weird psychic level. I think that's the thing. And I think it's a romantic notion as well, is that no matter where we are in the world, we can look at the same thing. Like, we could all be looking at the moon at the same time, and even though we're hundreds of miles apart, the thing that's connecting us is this focal point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's quite a romantic notion of sort of the interconnectivity of the human race.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why that is played out. Also, I suppose the bond that a mother and child should have, in theory, some mothers apparently don't, maybe suggest that there's something there. I mean, she does say on the plane, something's missing.
Yeah.
Like, there's an awareness that something's not right.
Honey,
I have that feeling.
we forgot something?
No, I don't think we did, but I just have that feeling.
Bad memories, that's all. We did everything. We brought everything. We have everybody. There's nothing to worry about.
So there is some sense of, like, there is a connection. I never thought about this before, about them being psychically linked.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to just, throw crazy ideas out there, That's how I roll.
Shocks me, Ben. It's like every now and then you'll say something that just I'm what where'd that come from him?
Yeah.
What was it you said to me last night about this? We were chatting about, like, doing this record.
Oh, I can't remember.
You can't remember?
No.
I mocked you for it earlier on. So we're sitting trying to work out, like, about what we're going to talk about for Home Alone, and just in a brief exchange.
Oh,
Ben says to me,
was it about the bandits? Like,
it wasn't even that. It was your other question. Are there any problematic people?
Problematic actors. Yeah.
It's like, you've been on this for too long whenever Ben starts asking about problematic actors.
Well, yeah, I'm just using the language that you and Rachel use, I'm getting on your level,
I mean, I hate to think that was the only thing that we ever did on CinePunked was like go, well, these people are all bad and therefore we can't enjoy these films anymore.
Yeah.
Which isn't what we do. Although, of course, there is, I mean, as you rightly pointed out to me, there's one very particularly problematic performer within this film.
Oh, aye. The one-liner, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
President Trump, Donald. Donald.
Oh.
Yeah, let's not go off and get into all that nonsense.
Well, we'll avoid the politics about it,
Yeah.
certainly. But yeah, he was the owner of the Plaza Hotel at the time that they shot. They shot in the lobby, and basically, Christopher Columbus has said, the director Christopher Columbus has said that basically Trump essentially bullied his way into being in the film.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
Do you think he had more parts in it that were cut?
No, I don't think he did. But basically, the way it usually works in New York was that if people want to film in places like hotels, they just ask and it gets granted.
Yeah.
But and Trump had done that. There's a fee that you pay, and that was fine. But then Trump added that he had to be in the film.
Ooh.
Which was typical of Trump.
Yeah.
You know, he has always been very savvy when it comes to getting himself on screen to be a celebrity. That's what he does. So they included his line. But I mean, he's in a whole bunch of films at that time. It's not particularly shocking to see him pop up. It's just weird now when we think that this man has been a president. But then Ronald Reagan was an actor long before he was ever a president as well, and obviously you got people like Schwarzenegger who've gone the other way. So I mean, it's not completely bizarre.
Yeah.
But yes, he's probably the most problematic of the performers within this. Although John Hurt, who played Macaulay Culkin's father in this one, had a bit of a not always the best of situations either. He was married to Margot Kidder at one point, which isn't itself particularly shocking. Only very, very brief, like a week marriage to her.
A week?
Margot, yeah, a week, 6 days.
How can you be married for 6 days?
It happens. It's particularly in America. It's slightly different. You know, it's easier to kind of go through the whole divorce process. I mean, Margot Kidder was famously, I imagine you're aware of this, but for anyone who's not aware, Margot Kidder was Lois Lane in the Christopher Reeve Batman films, and did suffer from a lot of mental health problems herself as well.
Wait, what films?
The Superman films.
Yeah, you said Batman.
It's near Christmas. I'm tired. Just everything blurs into one.
How dare you?
But yes, no, he had a conviction for assault and trespassing. Well, he was charged with trespassing, but a conviction for assault. And he was a conspiracy theorist as well, who disputed 9/11 ever happened or what happened. So very strange. But yes, it's low key in terms of the level of dickhead actors, really, when you think about it. He sadly passed a couple of years ago, had a massive heart attack. I can't think of anyone else that's really particularly problematic in this one, really, to be fair.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of okay. Or haven't looked deep enough. I'm sure someone will email in and tell us that we missed this scandal or that scandal. But yeah, it's fun. What do you think of the other performers within the film? I mean, a lot of it is geared around Macaulay Culkin, who, like, as he is a kid, I don't think I really appreciated Macaulay Culkin that well.
Yeah.
I think because it was so parodied, like the whole aftershave kind of thing, popped up everywhere in the 90s. I'm only slightly younger than Macaulay Culkin is as well, so there's probably that bit of childhood envy where you see somebody getting to do all these amazing things.
Yeah.
Whilst, you're not. You're just sitting at home watching TV.
Yeah.
Can I help you?
Reservation for McCallister?
A reservation for yourself?
Ma'am, my feet are hardly touching the ground. I'm barely able to look over this counter. How can I make a reservation for a hotel room? Think about it. A kid going into a hotel, making a reservation. I don't think so.
But like, so I don't think I appreciate it at the time. But looking back now, like it's rather solid performance.
Yeah, I think he's great, and see all the wee like fourth wall breaks in it as well. Directly looking at the camera, and you know the wee eyebrow thing that he does. You know, it's like
we're in on the joke the whole time.
Yeah. I think he's great. The acting is so solid. And I just love like how smart like Kevin McCallister is, like to plan out every minute detail. Like he knows one of them's going to go to the front door, one of them's going to try and get up the ladder onto the roof. He sorts that out. He knows after that they're going to try and get in the doors. You know, I'll booby trap them, and then I'll get one stuck down in the basement, and then I'll get them both stuck down in the basement. You know, it's just everything's perfect. The timing, it's like he's so smart. And
he clearly does plan it too, because he draws that on the blueprints, the modification.
My plan.
Like he does have the sense to think this all through, which I find bizarre.
Yeah,
that you would
he does this in such a short period of time, like 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. It's because it's just before 9 o'clock, isn't it, when he's running to the house?
Yeah,
and he's to be back at the thing because they're going to break in at 12.
Yeah.
So a 3-hour window, and he does a full A-team on the house.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then ringing the police beforehand, go and look for the fireworks, you know, at the end. And like I love at the start how they're like Marv covers his hand in the like duct tape or masking tape or whatever it is that he's using, which isn't really that sticky, but we'll give that a wee bye-ball. And he sticks his hand, and we're going to be called the Sticky Bandits. And then they end up sticky, covered in varnish at the end. And I just love it.
It's I mean, do you know what? This is one of those other things. See, when you watch something multiple times, and you can see how stuff is set up really early on in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, the film is dependent on a huge amount of coincidence.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Like. It's just too much, maybe. But then,
well, I don't know. Like, see how he gets lost and ends up in New York. Like, you could believe that, but like, the coincidence of your man looking like his dad from behind with exactly the same coat on.
Well, I mean that's not. I see. So far, that's not entirely unrealistic.
Yeah.
I mean. I have definitely been in places and thought I've seen people that I didn't, or I've got confused when I've been going around like a concert or something, because you see somebody else that's dressed wearing exactly the same gig shirt as you, or your friends. So I can see that happening. And once upon a time, it was easier to mistakenly board an airplane than it is today, although it still happens.
Yeah.
Not very often, but I mean, there are still instances every now and then of people somehow bypassing all of security.
Yeah.
And managing to get on a flight with no passport, or on the flight that they shouldn't be on.
Yeah.
So that can happen. I'm okay with it at that point. I'm sort of okay with them ending up in New York while the family are in Miami.
Yeah.
But after that, it's like when he runs into the bandits twice. You know.
Yeah,
like
and the same girl, which helps him get away. You know, the second time, like gets slapped, and then she goes with the old fist option. While when Kevin pinches her butt.
But then maybe we're just asking too much of this, because I've never looked at the geography of where this all happens. I mean, my sense is that actually they don't go that far from the hotel. The hotel is right beside the park.
Yeah.
And presumably the toy shop actually isn't that far away either. You know, he goes into a limo and has to drive around New York.
Yeah.
But presumably it's again within, maybe a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
So all this action is actually happening in a very short space. So if you've got people who are native to the city, as well as people who are sussing out a particular area, then maybe it's quite probable that you will meet the same people multiple times within a day, or within a couple of days, because they're literally doing the thing that they do every single day, and you're in their space. It's a funny one, because you, like, logically you shouldn't keep on doing it, but it does happen. But I mean, like, I'm picking at this, like, this is the thing that you want to kind of suspend you that takes you out of the fiction.
I don't think it does, though.
No, it doesn't. It's just one of those things. I just think there's a hell of a lot of coincidence for him to end up in that situation exactly 1 year later, going through exactly the same family process.
But he did wish for it.
Family. So is it just a Christmas wish? Is this what it is? It's a Christmas miracle because he gets what he wants.
Yeah, and then, well, like, there's a lot of Christmas miracles happening in this. So he gets to go on. He wished to be. I want to go on my own holiday by myself without you lot, and then coincidence happen. He's using his wee talk boy thing, trying to get batteries in it. Why that was so important to put batteries in while you're trying to rush for a plane.
Have kids. You've kids. You know what they're like. They will focus on the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the top boy which he wants. He gets his batteries. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they got so many sales from that.
They did. It was produced to tie in with the film, and apparently once it came out on video, the sales went through the roof.
Yeah.
So it didn't really. I suppose it impacted sales a little bit come up to the Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Remember my friend in school having one,
right?
He had a talk boy, and we messed about with it a lot, and that whenever we were at his house, like doing little funny things and speeding up the voice and slowing it down and everything. It was great.
Now you can be as clever as Kevin with Tiger's new Talkboy tape recorder.
Stop drooling on me! Stop drooling on me!
It even has speed control.
Hi, kids, we're home early.
Hi, kids, we're home early.
Tiger's new Talkboy tape recorder comes with audio cassette.
Hiya, pal.
Look for Home Alone 2, available now on video.
I don't think I've ever used one. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild. I mean, if my collecting habit is bad enough without me starting to collect Home Alone tie-ins.
I think it would be a cool thing to have. You know, that it is a rather. I don't think its mic works as well as it does in the movie. And I don't think the speaker works as well as it does in the movie. But no, they're definitely cool. The product placement is perfect.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not more actually within the film. There's a lot of potential, even in terms of the toy shop.
Yeah,
I mean the toy shop is so generic.
And the limo. I think there's like a shot where it's like Coca-Cola, and he's emptying the Coca-Cola into the wine glass while he's eating the pizza.
The cheese pizza.
The cheese pizza. Like, why would you just get a cheese pizza?
Is that margarita really is what he's asking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's clearly not just cheese. Clearly it's tomato as well. Kids are... I suppose it's kid thing, isn't it? It's the language of children is not the same as the language of adults.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin's clearly a smart kid.
Oh, yeah.
He's still at this stage only a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk briefly in a minute about Kevin as an adult, but as a kid, like that is his thinking.
Yeah.
So I suppose that explains probably quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
I want to touch on briefly, if we can, about some of the other performers from the film.
Okay.
Because sometimes we end up focusing so much on one particular individual that we kind of forget that films are ensemble pieces.
Yes.
You know, in this one you've got like John Hughes as a scriptwriter. I'm not actually John Hughes' biggest fan. I'm not a big fan of his films mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did all the kind of Brat Pack films I said in the intro. Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, all that nonsense that just haven't aged well with me at all. But he did the other stuff as well, and I'm probably not very fair on him. And he's beloved by a lot of people. So, like, I mean, he did things like the vacation films, which I actually quite like. Ferris Bueller, which I don't particularly like. Planes, Trains and Automobiles, Uncle Buck. and then these, which was sort of his big thing.
Yeah.
So as a writer, he's kind of got the chops. It was directed by Christopher Columbus, who did all sorts of things. He was a writer as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then he started directing. And he's perhaps best known to contemporary audiences for having done the first 2 Harry Potter films.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he's a bit like Steven Spielberg. He's a fairly safe pair of hands to stick a film in.
Yeah.
And he's able to do it rather well.
Yeah.
I suppose it's some of the other people in this, like Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
The double act between Tim Curry and
Rob Schneider. Yeah.
Is what do you reckon? What do you make of that one?
Oh, I thought it was good.
Are you a Tim Curry fan, or is he somebody who passes you by?
I've never really watched much stuff. Like, I know he was in that, what do you call that? Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Other than that, like
Treasure Island.
Muppets Treasure Island, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was Blackbeard, wasn't he?
He's Long John Silver.
Long John Silver, yeah, that's what it is. All pirates, they're all the same.
All the same, that's it.
But no, he was good in that. No, I do like him as an actor. I think he was very good in Home Alone 2, even though he didn't have a massive role.
No, he plays it up quite nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pure. I mean, it's pure cheese. He's a whole cheese pizza.
Yeah.
In this himself, I find him quite enjoyable.
I don't think it's a good idea for you to start running around all over New York City all by yourself.
I think if our son can do it, I can do it.
Kate,
Peter, I'll be fine. The way I'm feeling right now, no mugger or murderer would dare mess with me.
Madam, there are hundreds of parasites out there, armed to the teeth. Do bundle up. It's awfully cold outside.
I love his facial expressions and how good he is with his face when he's acting. He's able to, I'm so great. Oh, sorry.
Is a very plastic face. He's able to kind of, and his ability to go between the soft and the dark.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly.
Yeah. So you don't know whether he acts like a villain in this. He's like, I'm going to get this boy. There's something weird going on here. Ha! It's stolen. I've got you now. And then he doesn't realize that what he's done. He just mishandled that situation totally wrong.
I love the slap he gets from Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning violence, although I find that the violence in this works very well, but he's just so completely insensitive.
Yes.
And it's just a nicely played moment within the film.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the crawling on the floor bit.
Oh.
He's like, you were smooching everybody. He's like, no, you got it wrong. I haven't. You was here last night, smooching with my brother and all this stuff. And then the Cliff bit at the end. It's like, and then they all look to Cliff, the security guard. He's like, no, it's a lie. It's brilliant. Then the
I couldn't
gunfire.
quite tell if that was a bit of homophobia within that one, or if it's just a kind of oh my gosh, scandal.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Was that?
It's an American film. I mean, it's the 90s. I mean, but yeah, the bit where they're crawling on the floor with Tim. I was just watching how physical that was.
Yes.
He's literally just dragging himself on his elbows.
Yeah, pushing himself forward with his feet. But it's so good, so good. I love it.
Yeah, I like that. Also, Brenda Fricker doesn't get enough to do in this.
Yeah, she's great though. You feel so sorry for her, and you just want her to open up to people and find love. In the film, her story's pretty tugs on the heartstrings. I find.
I think it's something that a lot of us can probably identify with to some extent. You know, and obviously there's more to it because it's not just that she ran away from love. It's that she's ended up obviously going from a comparatively normal and stable existence to living homeless in the park.
Yeah.
Which isn't really explored. But it's a really, really softly underplayed performance.
Yeah.
A lot of it, again, it's in the sort of the emotions you can see in the face and the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And she delivers all her lines like just so gently.
Yeah, so soft.
So soft.
Yeah.
And
So, do you bring your friends up here?
I haven't got many friends.
Oh, sorry.
I'm like the birds I care for. People pass me in the street. They see me, but they try to ignore me. They prefer I wasn't part of their city.
Yeah, it's sort of like that with my family. I'm kind of the pigeon of the house, just because I'm the youngest.
Everyone fights for position. Everybody wants to be seen and heard.
I mean, she's fab. She's always fab as an actress.
Yeah.
Like everything I've seen her in, I've always enjoyed. She's now retired, largely, which is, I think, a bit of a shame. But you know, at the same time, enjoy your retirement. You may as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's her, and then Catherine O'Hara is Kevin's mum. Is the other one I think that's always worth mentioning because she's kind of fab too.
Has boy ever run away from home?
No.
Has he ever been in a situation where he's been on his own?
As a matter of fact, this has happened before. It's becoming sort of a McCallister family travel tradition.
Funnily enough, we never lose our luggage.
He was left at home by accident last year.
There's a whole big thing recently on social media with people discovering for the first time somehow that she is not only Kevin McCallister's mom, but that she's also the mother in Beetlejuice. They're like, it's the same woman. It's like, yeah, duh. She's also in Nightmare Before Christmas as one of the performers in that. But she is she's properly mumsy.
Yeah.
Probably mumsy. But also like the worst parent ever.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the worst parents ever. Because there's two of them there.
Like how do you do that twice to your kids?
Yeah. The emotional trauma.
Oh, that poor. I mean, if I was Kevin McCallister, I don't think I'd ever recover from it.
No.
Which I suppose is a good point as any to mention the kind of the parodies and the homages where the characters have come back in recent years.
Yeah. Those are fantastic. I love those.
We were having a little watch just before we came on air. They're just kind of catching up on a few of them. So there's Macaulay did a piece a few years ago for Drivers, where he basically plays a taxi driver version of his older self.
Yeah.
Talking about the trauma of having witnessed what he went through as a kid.
Yeah.
How about this, all right? It's Christmas time. It's fucking Christmas. And your whole family, right, goes on vacation. Whole family. And they forget their 8-year-old fucking son. Their 8-year-old son. All by yourself in the house for a week.
And I'm really sorry, man. I did not mean to upset you.
I had to fend off my house from 2 psychopath home invaders.
That's really terrible.
I was just a kid. I mean, I still have nightmares about like...
It's brilliant. And he can still act. Like, you got to give him that.
He totally can. I think as a performer, it's just a shame that in a way he burned too bright too quickly.
Yeah.
As many child actors do, and then I think he's been haunted to some extent by this film, by this franchise, by the character.
And other issues and problems as well.
Yeah, but I think that ties in with being the sort of the child actor thing, you know.
Yeah.
There's other things kind of come around that, but he seems to have a decent sense of himself, and you know, a bit of irony, and you know. But there's 2 different versions now of what happens to him, because you see that version with him as a kind of down and out driven psychopathic almost kind of
almost serial killer of the home invaders.
It's just like none of them will ever survive.
No.
So you got that one, but then there's the Google advert, I think from last year.
Yeah.
Where he basically seems to still be living in the same house with mum and dad.
Yes.
You know, it happens to people these days. It's a weird economic world that we're now in. And clearly he is a mummy's boy, I think.
Yeah.
But he seems to be much more controlled and much more calm.
A lot more forgiving.
Yeah.
For his trauma that he received.
Which do you think would actually be Kevin? Do you think he would be a wreck, or do you think he would be calm?
Well, you see in the second movie, his mum does say Kevin is much stronger than
she is.
Like, she would be a total wreck.
She said, "I'd be dead in a gutter somewhere."
But not Kevin.
Not Kevin.
Not
no.
Kevin. So I think he has. I don't think he would be the parody, the crazy serial killer parodied version. I don't think he'd be that. I think he'd be some madly successful dude, with his head on his shoulders. Like, he's not fazed by any of this.
No.
Because he's so smart and so intelligent.
I mean, I suppose you've already kind of picked up on it. You said that he plans everything through so meticulously as a kid.
Yeah.
So within the world of the film, within the wider world, being abandoned by your family on successive Christmases,
and
having to fend yourself against home invaders,
are
threatening to kill you, probably wouldn't do much for most of us. It would involve some time in therapy later on. But I think, as you say, he's so kind of attuned to what's going on. He's so clever. He's so meticulous in his planning, and he doesn't seem that fazed.
Yeah.
He
knows exactly what he's set out is going to happen. It's like this foresight, or again, he must be psychic.
He must be psychic. It's like a Rube Goldberg kind of device, but in a kind of like anti-burglar situation.
Yeah.
Where every single thing, like you know that if you do this, then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Partly because you don't give them any other choice.
Yeah.
They have to work through it in a certain methodical process, and it's just about adapting that. So I mean, I suspect that Google has it right. I mean, there's been talk for years about them doing another one, and there was talk a few years ago about actually having Kevin McCallister come back.
Macaulay Culkin
coming back with Harry and Marv.
They so should do that.
I mean, it's a weird thing as old people.
Well, yeah, I don't think necessarily do it as a reboot, but they, there's so many different ways you could go with something like that. Like, you could rehash, old gags or whatever, Macaulay Culkin, these guys finally get out after being locked in prison for so long, for extended jail time, for escaping, and they're old now, and they find out where he lives, and they're trying to get the revenge, to finally ice the kid, but obviously he's an adult now. You could go that way.
40. I mean, as a 40-year-old man, would it work in the same way? Like, is part of the whole joy about this not because it's a kid doing this that we kind of go, yeah, okay, that's fine. Whereas actually, if it was a grown man doing that, you'd be like,
but then it doesn't have to be Home Alone. But I think like there's a universe set up there, so you could do something with that universe.
I suppose this is the thing now, because this was a Fox production. Fox got bought over last year by Disney.
Yeah.
This is now a Disney property.
Yeah.
So like it's on Disney Plus for anyone who hasn't seen this before.
Like, as I said, the kid's so smart and he has psychic abilities. He could be in the Marvel universe for all we know.
I mean, this is the thing. These shared universes are very, very popular. So, I mean, they're rebooting the franchise.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not going to be the McCallisters. This is a slightly different sort of setup. But
I haven't watched
the
other two Home Alones. I think I watched the third one many years ago, but I wasn't too keen on it.
Oh, I think I've seen bits of them once. The third one was written by John Hughes as well. Apparently, actually, they'd wanted to do 2 films back to back.
Yeah.
So they wanted to film Home Alone 2 and a Home Alone 3 because they're aware that Macaulay Culkin was getting older.
Yeah.
So let's do the 2 films at once and still use him. But apparently the money was too big, so they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Which is why Macaulay Culkin ends up getting replaced.
Yeah.
For the third film, which I think is a shame.
It is a shame.
I don't know. Part of me would love to see. I mean, one of the kind of I think the easier options that they've suggested is having Macaulay Culkin's kid having to go through similar situations. You know, that kind of setting, the Kevin's kid. But I kind of think like, that you're just suspending that coincidence thing again, another generation.
Yeah,
I
think they'd have to come at it from a different angle. I would like to see it from a different angle, like, you know, an older version. Obviously, that's not going to happen because it's Disney and family friendly and all that.
Well, I don't know, because they've got Deadpool now. You know, I mean, Deadpool has changed things for them.
They've got Deadpool.
Yeah, because Deadpool was Fox.
Was it? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't. I'm pretty sure it's not on Disney Plus. Because it's R rated.
I don't know. I think things are changing within that whole. I mean, we probably at some point could have had a conversation about this.
Yeah.
About how Disney's acquisition of Fox is going to change what it means to be part of Disney.
Yeah.
And also how they deal with the 20th Century brand. You know, they dropped the Fox name, but you know, the 20th Century is what it's now called.
Yeah.
Because of these negative associations with the Fox News Network during the Trump era, in particular.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's still a lot of questions out there in terms of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
In terms of what sort of films are going to come out.
Uh-huh.
I think Disney is probably going to have to, but Disney's always had other content that people are maybe surprised about. And I think maybe that's just what's going to happen. I think over the next few years we're going to see that the House of Mice is not going to be just those kid-friendly films. It's going to be much, much wider. I mean, some of the Marvel films are not exactly child-friendly.
No, they're definitely not. But I think that'd be a good thing, though. Like Disney could be for everyone, and not strictly kids.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it's going to be. I think it's going to be a much, much bigger enterprise.
Yeah.
So in terms of like having an R-rated Home Alone, I don't know that I want it to be R-rated.
No, I'm not saying like for it to be R-rated, but like I would like to see Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, and Daniel
Stern.
Yeah. I would like to see something with those three again, not rehashing old gags and all that, but something new. But in that universe, you know, it could be a little bit older. It could, you know, but I think they could do something with that. Like whether it's Kevin trying to seek forgiveness for getting them locked up or whatever, or them seeking forgiveness on trying to kill this kid after spending years and years in jail, or them trying to ice him again. You know, something could happen that way. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. Just because of the chemistry back then, you know, with all of them, it seemed so good.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently Joe Pesci and Macaulay Culkin didn't really get on set. Joe was a bit mean to him.
Yeah.
He felt that Macaulay was a bit spoilt, and also that he probably quite liked somebody not treating him like a spoilt, like, you know, sort of indulging in his every whim.
Yeah. But he's a kid, come on.
Yeah, although Pesci himself was apparently quite awkward on the first. I don't know about the second one, but certainly in the first film, he kind of has all sorts of problems with their filming schedules and things.
Yeah,
because he likes to play a round of golf before filming in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. But well, you know, actors,
stars.
drama, big stars. You know, it happens.
Yeah. I have to say now. I mean, in terms of just quickly come back to violence before we wrap this one up. Like, I was surprised to find myself guffawing last night watching this again.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen this multiple times.
Yeah, me too. But I still laugh out loud.
I have a smile on my face during a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it was literally the first point at which I laughed out loud was the first brick.
Yeah. Well,
I could not hold it in, put it that way. I mean, like, I'm laughing before that, but the point the first brick comes down, I am sitting and suddenly the laugh comes out.
Yeah.
And that whole home invasion sequence, I'm chortling away.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going like, this is so ridiculous and this is so painful.
Yeah.
You know, and I know what's happening in the staples in the ass and everything. I'm just like,
staples in the ass, staple in the crotch, staple in the nose.
I just don't find that films often make me, you know, actually create that kind of physical reaction in me.
Yeah.
So
it's so good.
I had totally expected to kind of come at this and kind of go, it's okay, you know, but I've actually found this is a Christmas film that I really like.
Yeah. I like it too. I think for it being so old,
yeah,
it holds up so well.
Oh, phenomenally. I don't think there's any reason not to. Although when I'm thinking about his room service bill at $957 or whatever,
he was staying in the plaza, so
my gosh, I mean, he was only there for a couple of days.
He ate so much ice cream.
Was he there for one night, 2 nights before? Because they go off on Christmas Eve. It's all on Christmas Eve.
That's not No, it's not Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve when the robbery happens.
Yes.
So he's there for. He doesn't spend a night.
He spends a night. She says good night, telepathically to each other. Then he gets up the next day, goes to the toy store. He hears about the plan.
Which is for that day. So there's only one night he spends in the hotel room. So he's only in that hotel room for one night, and he manages to run up nearly $1,000 in room service.
Yeah, but it's the plaza.
In today's money, that's going to cost you what? It's roughly about doubles every 10 years. So 1992, 30 years later, you're talking like
$2,000,
about $4,000.
Yeah,
in a room service bill for one night. My gosh, I suppose it's Trump Plaza. Yeah, that's what it is.
Trump had to make his money somehow, you know.
Well,
but then, he was getting dry cleaning and, you know, stuff done and.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he had to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He's not going to just go out and just eat ice cream.
I mean, what does Kevin's dad... I mean, I saw someone else ask this recently. What the hell does Kevin's dad actually do that they can afford to take the family of 14 away every year?
He must have a pretty good job.
Like, he lives in this mansion thing, and his brother lives in a bloody epic house in New York as well.
Yeah,
like they're clearly loaded, the minted family.
Yeah,
just privilege, eh? White. This is white middle class privilege.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's all white privilege. So yeah, look, this is. I mean, there's no Rachel here to tell us that she doesn't like the film. Although I suspect this is one of those occasions where she probably would agree with us that this is a good film.
She might, or she might hate it entirely because there's a lot of stuff that I've suggested that she doesn't really like. So
I'm going to assume, because I can't be bored texting her. You know, it's like, Rachel, I'm assuming that you like Home Alone 2. If you don't, and you've actually listened to the podcast, you can argue with us on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. Let's leave it at that. She can argue with us on Twitter if she doesn't like it. We'll assume that she likes it.
So, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Give it a watch. If you haven't seen it, somehow, It is a good Christmas movie. It's funny. Give the first one a watch as well. Don't watch the third one or the fourth one.
You'll have to introduce your kids to it at some point.
Yeah, well, I'd
love to hear what they felt about it.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. If you got kids, get them to watch it too.
I suspect you're asking for trouble with your wee boy.
Yeah. I'll come down to broken baubles on the floor, which I'll stand on. No, I loved it. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it, it still makes me laugh for some reason, and I think that's a sign of a good movie.
Totally agree. I mean, this is a rare film that is properly timeless. I think it's packed full of gags.
Yeah.
Fair enough. If you've seen the first one, there is a certain amount of derivative, but I mean, I sat and laughed out loud again, having seen it multiple times, and anything that's able to induce a proper belly laugh after you've seen it multiple times has to be a good film.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. So, look, Ben, thank you very much for suggesting this and for doing the pod.
No problem.
Hope at some point we'll go back to normal broadcasting. I don't know when that's going to be, but for now we continue with this wonderful world of distant relationships. To folks, if you've enjoyed tonight or this edition, you can get in touch with us. Drop us some messages. Let us know what you think about Home Alone. We're on social media. You'll find us on Twitter and Facebook as CinePunked. We're on Instagram as CinePunked Film. We've got our website, www.cinepunked.com. You find this podcast, hopefully you can find the rest of them. If you don't already, give it a subscribe. If you do subscribe, you can always give us a wee review. We'd love a wee iTunes review or two. It does help. Tell your friends and family about the show, and we will be back in your ears again ridiculously soon, I hope. And there's a whole archive of previous episodes for you to indulge in if you don't like this particular film or you're interested in what else we have to do. At some point we'll get back to live events in the real world, but who knows when that will be. This 2020 year has been a rather unusual year, I think. So from me and from Ben, goodbye.
Goodbye. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year.
Hiya, pal.
Deck the halls with Marv and Harry.
Yes!
Make their Christmas not so merry. Give them bricks and give them riches. One more Christmas in the trenches. Toss some paint cans down to greet them. Send the toolbox down to meet them. Serve the meals for Christmas dinner. Kevin is declared the winner.
May I do the thinking, please?
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
You wearing aftershave? That's kerosene. Now why would anybody soak a rope in kerosene?
Merry Christmas.